Hey everybody, it's Michael. I want to revisit curved rulers today. And the reason is because I've added a couple. These were my originals. The 8, the 10, the 12, the 16, the 20, the 30. And these three sell separately. These three go in a set because they're a little bit harder to ship and it just makes it easier for everyone concerned that way. But I added the 6 and I added the 14. And those just came in last week, and I'm ready to start telling you about them. So, curved rulers in general, why? Why? I'm always asking, why do you want them? What's it for? Okay, well, there's a lot of designs that you can do with curved rulers within blocks, and they are great for scallops, for borders, and motifs that you can do within the blocks. But continuous curve is one of our most popular quilting patterns, sometimes just to kind of get things done, and other times to make really nice designs. So curved rulers are based on circles, not ovals or different kind of rounded shapes. Like there are different swag rulers that you may purchase. I have everything. Trust me, I have bought everything. But as far as what I'm designing and producing, these are based on circles. And I don't know about other brands. There are some that I think do the same naming convention that I do. But 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, this means that it will stitch out a 6-inch circle. If you were to create a circle from this, the 8 will stitch out an 8-inch circle. Okay, and I said stitch out. That means this is not an 8-inch circle if you just draw it, if you just trace around it with a writing utensil. But with a 1/4 inch away, with your hopping foot and your needle, this is an 8-inch circle, a 10, a 12, a 14, a 16, a 20, and a 30. Okay, so those are circles that they will stitch out, or partial circles, and that's what curved rulers are, partial circles. Now with mine, the inside is the same as the outside when you stitch it out. So when your hopping foot is a 1/4 inch inside this line, it stitches out a 12-inch circle if you were to go all the way around and rotate. Okay, not all are, and there are advantages and disadvantages. If this inside were to just kind of match this outside, let's say that we just decided to go 2 or 3 inches all the way around like this, well, you'd get a different curve in here, and in a sense, you'd be adding to your set of curves because this would be a different one on the inside. But there's a reason that I make mine the same on the inside as the outside, and you probably have seen me talk about it in other videos. But it is so that you can use either side and alter your position, your hand position. So you don't have to do weird angles with your hands like this and that. Okay, it makes it so that you can go like this. If you're a right-handed person, you stitch here, stitch here. If you're a lefty, then you're going to be able to hold everything in your right hand. You're going to be able to stitch here and turn it and stitch here. Okay? So let's look at some other things about these particular curved rulers. There's an echo line that is 1/4 inch on the inside of these curves. That is to help do echoes for yourself. Okay, there is a 90-degree angle here, and I mean on the 45. So it's actually two 45-degree angles that create a 90-degree angle. You have vertical lines and horizontal lines. Now, the vertical lines, I've listed them so that it goes 0, and instead of this being 1, 2, 3, it's 2, 4, 6 because I'm going out from the center. So this is telling you that this is a 2-inch strip. This is a border. This is a 4-inch border or a block if you put the 0 in the center of it. This is a 6-inch. And I'll show you what that means when we do some stitch outs. Let's talk about some things when buying rulers, okay? And then we'll start getting into the actual nitty-gritty of using them. Okay, you may or may not have seen this before. These are all rulers that I have bought. And I have bought circles and arcs This is the swag that I was telling you about. See, that doesn't create a circle. This is something else. Okay, so since I was just talking about circles, why don't we just buy circles? Well, they would give you the same thing, wouldn't they? Yes. However, these things get heavy, and this is already getting heavy. Can you imagine when you're going to a 14 and a 16? You don't want these big circles. They're too heavy. Even now, my tendency is to use a ruler and kind of put it to the side, but still on the quilt. This is starting to weigh this sample down and stretch my fabric. Now, maybe if I was more efficient and you take away a ruler and put one back, that's okay. But that would kind of help in that situation. But you really, it gets awkward to have all of these circles. Okay, here are some of the other kind of circular things that I've bought. They came as a nested set. And these kind of do the job too, but there's very little to hold on to here. And I just find these more difficult to work with. So all of my markings are on the underneath side, which does help with a little teeny tiny bit of traction, but not a whole lot. But there's one other thing about marking on the underneath side versus on the top. When you have these markings on the top, sometimes the light from above or from the side will cast a slight shadow, and if you're going for something, precise, you might be a little off because there's this 1/4 inch distance from the light down to the fabric. Well, if it's on the back, then it's closest to the fabric, and you're going to get a little bit more precise results, if that's important to you. It's not usually that important to me, but between that and the added traction that it gives, I like it. So they're all etched on the underneath side. Okay, they come in this color, which is good for most darks and lights, unless you find some sort of neon green fabric one day. Okay, so over the course of this video, I'm going to show you how these rulers are used. I may pull in some older footage from some videos that I've released in the past, and then I'll do some new stitch outs for you as well. And all of this is to help you decide, well, which rulers do you think you might want in your toolbox and which might you not want in your toolbox. Okay, so stick with me and we'll get started. Okay, so as with any other quilting with rulers, you need to have your ruler base on. Mine's on underneath there, and you need your ruler foot. That's the foot that has the higher wall so that you can use these 1/4 inch rulers up next against it, and it won't go above and have your needle hit it. Okay, so I've marked out a few things. These are 4-inch blocks. These represent 6-inch blocks. And I want to talk about what curves might you want to use and what might you want to do with them. So let's look at the smaller rulers. I have a 6, 8, a 10, and a 12 here. All right, so if we look at the 6-inch block, the 6-inch ruler goes with it. There is a line here. You can call it a horizontal line if you are reading the 6, and you look at this line here. That line, if you put that on your seam line, you're going to be a 1/4 inch away when you bring in your Longarm machine or your home sewing machine. This works just the same on a home sewing machine. And you can stitch from seam intersection to intersection, and this will work on it. You'll notice this goes really far into this block. And with curved rulers, the lower the number, the more you're going to go inside a block. So let's look at this. On a 6-inch block, this is how far I'm going into the block. Let's say I put an 8. This is the 8 ruler. When I stitch this out, I'm not sure if you can tell the difference. There's the 6. And then if I put the 8 to where the curve is at the intersections, or it's a 1/4 inch away from the intersections, It's going to be about here. Do you see how much more shallow this is? Okay, so this is useful when deciding what kind of designs you're going to do. And basically, you know that you can do a 6-inch block with the 6 curve, and it's going to go in pretty far. However, you could use an 8, you could use a 10, which would be even more shallow of a curve. Okay, so keep all of that in mind. With your lower number blocks, you can use higher number rulers, but you can't use lower number than what you're doing. I'll show you that in a minute when we get to a bigger block. Okay, so these are the 4s. Well, do we want to use a 6 on a 4? Probably. I think that would be perfect. And let's look at the inside and the outside curves. On a 6-inch block, I told you about this. I could use this and create my arc here, create another one here, and make this big design. Should we do it? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I'm going to bring my handlebar down. And let's just drop our needle in the corner, lock a few stitches. Okay, today I've got my stitch length set to 11. So this is the 6-inch block. This is the number 6 ruler. Okay, and you know, the Sharpie's a little wide, so it may not be exactly 6 inches, but let's just say I'm going to stitch around my 6-inch template, and I'll be close. No, I'm perfect. Okay, so there, I've got it. That's the 6-inch curve on a 6-inch block. Now, if I put the 6-inch here to go to this part of it, look how I'm going to overlap, which is fine. This might be a design that you like. Okay, now this will give me the same curve that I just did, but I want to be able to do this. Uh-oh, I can't get it this way. It's too short. That means the 6 on a 6-inch block is not the correct ruler if you want to be able to use both sides of it. So if I want to get this same design, I will have to use it on this side. So I'm going to have to contort, but you can contort if you want. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, except it's awkward. But sometimes you have to if this is all you have and you want that. So when you contort, I'm going to caution you to go extremely slow and be careful, because you are not in the same kind of control you normally are. And I was a little wobbly here. That's part of it. Now see, I'd really like to do this, but I can't. So I am going to contort and put my body wherever I have to put it to get this done. Okay, so here we go. I'm stitching it. Oh, this one is not easy for me. Okay, but I did it. All right, so it's a little wobbly. It's still pretty, right? It's just a little wobbly. It's pretty, and I had to get into some awkward positions, but I got it done, right? So if this is what you have, that's what you use. So it's not the perfect one, though. So let's jump over to this one, which is a 4-inch block. Let's use the same curve, okay? And you'll notice that I can use both sides of it. And take a peek at this. The 4s, see how the ruler is marked with 4s? And that shows the 4-inch block. These rulers, if you look at the markings, you could sort of tell which size blocks are you going to be able to use both sides of your rulers. This one has a 6. That means I can use the 6 inside and outside. I can use an 8-inch block with this. I can use this 12 on an 8-inch block inside and outside. But you'll see where I could go to 9 with a 12. I could do a 9-inch block on the outside, but I won't make it on the inside. So instead of you having to guess, you can look at the ruler and find out which size blocks it's going to work for to do both sides. Okay, so we're using the 6 on the 6-inch block. Let's look at it on the 4-inch block. And I'm going to line these lines up on the 4. Okay, so I use the inside curve. Now I'm going to use the outside curve, and I'm going to line my 4 up with these seam lines. We're pretending they're seam lines for a 4-inch block. Okay. Same thing, I'm lining up my 4 here. I don't have a 4 over here because I don't have a block there. And again, for me, since I'm a right-hander, I'm going to use the inside of the curve so I can still keep using my left hand on the ruler. My right hand is guiding my machine. Okay, there. So this is more typical of what you'll see with the continuous curve design, right? So it's the number 6, but it's on a 4-inch block. Let's look at this one again. This was our 6 on the 6, and I had to contort. But probably, look, the 10 would work because I can see that it'll accommodate a 6-inch block. So will the 8. Let's look at the 8. So there are 6-inch markings on the number 8. I'm going to go ahead. That's the 8. Here's what a 10 would look like. And I've got the 6-inch markings on that as well. Excuse me. The 12 has a 6-inch marking. Okay, and so on and so on. So, as you noticed, the 12 is the most shallow, and then we had the 10, we had the 8. What I'm doing is I'm using these 8-inch blocks, and I'm doing the continuous curve design, and I'm showing you how they stitch out with 2 different rulers. I'm starting with the 14. This is the newest ruler. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it with the 12 also. But here's how the 14 is stitching out. Okay, so remember I'm using both sides because this ruler will accommodate using both sides on this size of a block. And actually, I'm going to save this last block for something else. So let's go ahead and finish up these 2. Okay, so that's our continuous curve for the 14. Now let's also do the 12. Now remember the 12 is a deeper curve, so it's going to go in a little further. But we're still going to end here in the corner. So let's see what happens when we do this. There we go, and you can see it's just a little bit of a deeper arc. Ends up in the same spots. And who knows, you may like this effect as an actual design. But the reason I'm doing it is just to show you that you're able to choose whichever curved rulers you want. Sometimes you might want to go deeper into the block, and sometimes you might not. Okay. There you go. Okay, let's move over. Let me get my straight ruler. Let's move over to this next one. What I want to do is mark the center. Okay, so I'm just going to put tick marks so that I can find the center. Remember, I'm using the Mark Me Gone blue marker. Where's the camera? You know, this one. Okay. So that's my center. So let's talk about using your curves to create a motif of some sort. You want to do a flower motif. And let's say the petals are like this. Well, then you can go with smaller rulers. So could you use the brand new 6? Where is the 6? Here we go. It still is a little bit too much. It's too much, but I have an idea for this one. Okay, so we could use the 8. We could use the 10. What I'm doing when I'm saying we could use these is I'm looking to see if I'm going to have crossing lines or not. The 8 looks like it would be pretty perfect, and this is an 8-inch block, so that makes sense. It would create these petals that pretty much fill in that square if you look at quadrants. But if you wanted a more narrow petal, you could go with that. Let me show you what the 8 looks like. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to stop at center. I'm going to do this clockwise, basically. No, I'm okay. This is not uncomfortable for me, but when it becomes an awkward position, I'll switch the ruler around and I'll use the inside curve right now. It's really just whatever feels comfortable when you're stitching out your arc. And going clockwise, it was twice that I wanted to switch and use the inside, which is fine. Okay, so there's our basic design. I'm going to take the needle out here and go back to the center. Okay, so that was using the 8. It's pretty, right? Okay, so Now, let's say I want to add something to this. This would be if I wanted to connect the center to the center on the sides. This would be a good time to use this smaller ruler. Let's see what we end up with. So I'm going to start center, which is what I prefer to do when I'm doing a floral design like this. But as you see, I was able to get to here with no trouble. Okay, so now I want to connect. So I'm using this 6. And again, I'm just eyeing it to see that I hit my previous marks that I made with my Mark Be Gone. Okay, going to the inside curve this time, just because it felt more natural. So what I'm noticing is that I can see the 4, and 4 is half of 8, right? So when you're actually taking half of these 8 blocks, then the 4 is half of 8. So the curve at 6, remember I told you it's pretty perfect for a 4-inch block. So this, in a sense, are 4-inch segments. And I think, see if I'm lining up the 4 on this line, and the 4 is hitting the center. And there's my mark. Okay, so what happens is also the proportions are correct. Meaning, when we see this stitched out, it looks proportionate. Like these center petals are a nice size compared to these larger ones that go to the outside. And so they're not super skinny and they don't cross over each other. Let me take this away so you can see it just a little bit better. Okay. So there, hopefully you can see that. And that's using 2 different rulers. So we use the 6 and we use the 8. And had we used the 10, these petals would have been skinnier, but they still would have extended. Okay, so that's a flower motif. So I love using curved rulers for that. Okay, so let's say that we're going to do a border, and we're going to use our curved rulers to do a scalloped border with a fill on either side. I've marked my border every 10 inches. Or I'm just using that as a random thing, saying I want 10-inch scallops. You could do whatever you want. It could match up with the blocks in your quilt. If you have blocks, it could be slightly different, but you kind of want it to be whatever fits the length of that side. I could use any ruler that I want. Here's my other mark. This would give me a very shallow scallop here. That won't work. It's not long enough. The 16. Is that the one I just had? No, the 16 is kind of shallow too. The 12 might be good. But I think I'm going to use the new one. This is the new ruler. This is the 14. So it looks like, yeah. Okay, so I decided to use the 12. And here we go. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Okay, so if I want to do a 1/4 inch echo, I'm going to put the ruler right on the previous stitching line. And it may take just a little bit of adjusting because it's not exactly the same. But that's okay. You can adjust as you get to it. Okay, there is our echo. Now I have 2 spaces that I could do some fills with, and let's just say I'm going to do half-inch straight lines on this side. Something like that. Maybe on here I'm doing some little swirls, some sort of fill. Right, you get the idea. Anyway, there. So you've used your curves to create this kind of faux scalloped border. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our revisit to curved rulers and maybe picked up an idea or two on using your curved rulers. If you don't have curved rulers and you're just starting out, I know it looked confusing, but I think you get the idea. Ask yourself, what size blocks are you working with, mostly, if you are working with blocks. Are you making your own quilts, and like most of your blocks are 8-inch blocks or 9-inch blocks or whatever? Are you quilting for other people, and are they traditional quilts with block sizes? Because if you know block sizes, you're going to know what curves you need, especially with mine because they're printed right here, and it kind of tells you, okay, if you buy the 12, an 8-inch block is great. You're going to have it both sides. It's going to be easy. It's going to be nice. Are you using 9-inch blocks? You might want to move up to the 14. Or most of your blocks is 6. Well, then you have some choices. You might use the 8 or the 10 or the 12. And, what do you want to do designs, these motifs and things. So anyway, of course I want you to have them all. And I have them all, and I have way too many rulers, but I love them, and I do use them at different sizes at different times, and I hope that you'll be that way as well. Okay, I'm going to shut up for now. But these new ones that have just been made, the 6th and the 14th, they are in my shop now. I have a limited quantity right now, but I'm having more produced, and actually everything is kind of slow and steady. As things are selling down, I'm getting more in stock, so I haven't sold out yet. And the people who produce these for me are fantastic people, and I try to keep things moving along. So as you buy, I keep ordering more. And if you have any questions about any of the products that I design and sell to you, please let me know, and let me know if you have some ideas for making any sort of improvements to them, whether it be markings or what have you. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you, and I'm so happy to be part of the quilting community, and anything I can do to help you, please let me know. All right. Hope everyone is well, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.